Every morning before the sun comes up, a woman is already awake in the dark. She's not going to an office. She's going to the wet market. By 4 a.m., she's already walking through the stalls, choosing pork, checking on fish, squeezing tomatoes, negotiating prices with vendors. She's known for years. By 6 a.m., she's back home cooking. By 11 a.m., there are 8 or 9 dishes lined up behind a glass case. There's rice in a massive pot and a few plastic tables outside with a handwritten menu on the wall that nobody reads because everybody already knows what she makes. By noon, construction workers, jeepney drivers, security guards, delivery riders, and students are lined up pointing at what they want. Turo, turo, point, point. That's how you order. A plate full of rice, a meat dish, maybe a vegetable on the side for somewhere between 50 and 150 pesos. Now, depending on where you are, that's about $1 to $3. And this woman is somehow making a living feeding people on margins that would make any Western restaurant owner walk away. This is the Carinderia. And what I want to talk about today is why this tiny neighborhood kitchen is actually one of the most important economic institutions in the Philippines. Let's get into it. So nobody has an exact count of how many carinderias exist in the Philippines. They're not all formally registered. Many of them are just operating out of somebody's house with the window cut open to the street. Some of them don't even have a name, but they are everywhere. Walk through any neighborhood in Metro Manila, any town in the Visayas, any barangay in Mindanao, and you will find one within a few minutes of wherever you're standing. Best estimates put the number at several 100,000 nationwide. Some estimates go higher, but here's what matters more than the exact number. Carinderias feed the workforce that feeds the economy, and they have a history so old that I had to double and triple check when I was researching for this episode. I'll share more about how long carinderias have existed and a surprising connection to India when it comes to the naming of carinderias. But we'll talk more about that a bit later in the video. Now, the daily minimum wage in Metro Manila is 695 pesos for non-agricultural workers. Outside the National Capital Region, the NCR, it drops to 400 to maybe 550 at most in most regions. Some places, though, even lower. So when you earn 400 to 695 pesos a day, you're not going to be eating at Jollibee 3 times a day. You're not ordering Grab food. You are eating at the Carinderia down the street, because the Carinderia is the only place where you could get a full meal for as little as 50 pesos in the provinces or 80 to 150 in Manila. And when, by some estimates, over 20 million Filipinos are working in the informal economy, earning daily, spending daily, Carinderia isn't a restaurant option. It's infrastructure. It's the thing that makes the daily wage actually work. Now, if you've seen my video on sari-sari stores in the sachet economy, this is going to feel very familiar because the Carinderia operates on the exact same principle. In the West, food works on a bulk purchase model. You go to the grocery store once a week, you buy in volume, you stock your fridge and your pantry, you cook your meals from stored ingredients. That entire system assumes something that millions of Filipinos don't have. That's a weekly or monthly paycheck, a refrigerator big enough to store food, and cash flow to buy ahead. When you earn daily, you eat daily. You don't buy groceries for the week, you buy breakfast, you buy lunch, you buy dinner. One meal right now. Sari-sari stores sell shampoo 1 sachet at a time because that's what matches the daily wage. The Carinderia sells food 1 plate at a time for the exact same reason. This is a sachet economy applied to food. 1 serving, 1 transaction, 1 meal that matches today's earnings. And just like the sari-sari store, the Carinderia is the retail infrastructure that makes the whole system function. So here's the question that really got me thinking. How does someone serve a full meal for 50 to 150 pesos? Again, about $1 to $3, and still make a living. Because in any Western food business, the math wouldn't work. Labor costs alone would kill you. Rent would kill you. The margins would be impossible. But the Carinderia doesn't operate on Western restaurant economics. It operates on a completely different model. And once you understand the model, you realize how brilliant it is. So let me break it down. First, let's talk about sourcing. Remember that woman at the wet market at 4 a.m.? She's not ordering from a distributor. She's not buying through a supply chain. She's buying directly from the market vendor. And the market vendor bought directly from the farmer or the fisherman. There's almost no middleman. And she's buying at the lowest prices of the day because early morning is when wet market vendors are most willing to negotiate. She knows which vendors give her the best price. She knows which cuts of pork are going to stretch the furthest. She knows that buying a whole chicken and breaking it down herself is cheaper than buying parts. What is this? This is procurement expertise. It's not in a spreadsheet. It's in her head. Second, let's talk about rent. Most carinderias don't pay rent because the carinderia is the house. There might be a window that gets cut open, a counter that gets built, a few tables go outside on the sidewalk. It's a kitchen that was already there for the family, becoming the kitchen for the business. There's no lease, there's no security deposit, there's no commercial real estate costs that go up every year. The biggest fixed costs in any restaurant business just disappears. Third, let's look at labor. This is the one that most people miss entirely. In a Western restaurant, labor is typically 25 to 35% of total costs. In a carinderia, the owner is the cook. Her daughter might be handling serving and cleanup. Her husband might be managing the market runs on weekends. Her mother is there watching the cash. This is family labor. And in most carinderia economics, it never gets counted because nobody's on a payroll. Nobody's getting an hourly wage from the business. The family just works and the family just eats. The income goes into the household. It's not that the labor is exactly free. It's that the labor cost is absorbed into the family the same way it is in a sari-sari store. Industry guidance says a healthy carinderia margin runs between 30 and 45%, with food costs targeted at about 50% of sales. This might sound thin by Western standards, but when your rent is zero and your labor is family, 30 to 45% margin is closer to real take-home income than anything a formal restaurant reports. A carinderia serving 60 to 80 customers a day at an average of 70 to 120 pesos per meal, depending on the area, is generating 4,000 to 10,000 pesos a day in revenue. At a food cost, that can mean 1,500 to 4,500 pesos a day going into the household. That's competitive with or better than the minimum wage by far, sometimes significantly better. For a business, you could start with as little as 25,000, 30,000 pesos in capital. Now, there's another layer to this that I think is worth understanding. The carinderia doesn't exist in isolation. It sits at the center of a larger ecosystem that starts before dawn. The wet market is the engine. Go to any public market in the Philippines at 4 or 5 in the morning, and you're going to see the economy operating at full speed. This includes farmers who drove through the night from the provinces, fish vendors who came from the port before sunrise, meat sellers who've been cutting and sorting since 3 a.m., and carinderia owners moving through the aisles with their suki relationships. A suki is one of those Filipino economic concepts. It doesn't translate clearly into English, but it basically means regular customer. But it's more than that. It's more of a loyalty relationship. You always buy from your suki vendor. Your suki vendor gives you the best price. And they even might let you pay later if cash is tight. They're going to set aside the good cuts for you. It's essentially trust converted into economic advantage. Just like the sari-sari store runs on credit and trust between neighbors, the wet market to carinderia pipeline runs on suki relationships between vendors and cooks. This is a supply chain. It's just not digitized. It doesn't run on some Silicon Valley tech software. It runs on relationships built over years, and it's incredibly efficient. By the time the first customer walks up to the carinderia at 11 a.m., those ingredients have moved from a farm, maybe in Laguna, or a boat off of Navotas, to a finished plate of food in a matter of hours. There's no warehouse, there's no distribution center, just people who know each other, moving food from source to stomach as fast as possible every single day of the year. Now, let me talk about who actually eats at carinderias, because this is where you see the economic function most clearly. There might be construction workers. The Philippines is building constantly. Every major city in the Philippines has big cranes building huge skyscrapers. Every neighborhood has a project, and the construction workers on those sites eat at the nearest carinderia every single day. Or there's jeepney and tricycle drivers, security guards who are on shift for 12 hours. There's domestic workers, market vendors, or street vendors. There's delivery riders on motorcycles and students on a tight budget. These aren't people choosing between the carinderia and a restaurant. The carinderia is the only option. And without it, those workers would either go hungry or spend a portion of their daily wage that would make everything else in their budget fall apart. So think about a security guard earning 695 pesos a day in Manila. If he eats 3 meals at a Carinderia, that's maybe 200 to 300 pesos for the day. That's already 30 to 40% of his daily wage on food. It's tight, but he can make it work. Now, imagine if his cheapest option was Jollibee, where a basic combo meal starts at around 130 pesos. 3 meals at fast food would cost 400 to 500 pesos, and that's over half his daily wage. The math is definitely not going to work there. Carinderia is what makes the daily wage survivable. It's the gap between getting by and going under. There's something else about Carinderias that mirrors the sari-sari store almost exactly. They're overwhelmingly run by women. Just like about 75% of sari-sari stores are operated by women, Carinderias follow the same pattern. And the reason is the same. You could run a Carinderia from your house while still managing a household, while still watching children, and while still being present for the family. It's not a choice between working and being home. It's both at the same time. And for many Filipino women, especially those without college degrees or formal employment, the Carinderia is the most accessible path to generating real income. You don't need a business degree. However, just to work at Jollibee, you do need a college degree. Literally, when it comes to everyday Filipinos without a college degree, it's surprisingly difficult to get even a minimum wage earning job. So a Carinderia starts to make a lot of sense. You don't need a massive investment. You just need to know how to cook, how to shop at the wet market, how to manage a small daily operation, and most importantly, how to keep your neighbors coming back. And that last part is the hardest part, because the Carinderia economy is brutally competitive. In any given neighborhood, there might be 3 or 4 or 10 Carinderias within a few blocks of each other. Your food better be good. Your portions better be fair. And your prices have to be just right. And if a customer has a bad experience, it's easy enough for them to just walk next door tomorrow. There's no loyalty program. There's no marketing budget. There's just the food. Now, here was something that I was surprised about that I think most people don't know. The Carinderia has been around for over 250 years. According to Filipino food historian Feliz Prudente Santa Maria, Carinderia traces back to around 1764. During the British occupation of Manila, Indian soldiers called sepoys deserted the British fleet and settled in the Philippines. They married Filipinas and set up homes in towns like Cainta and Taytay along the pilgrimage route to the Antipolo Church. And they started selling cooked curry-based dishes. The word kari in Tagalog means curry, and that's where the name comes from, kari, Carinderia. The food evolved over the centuries, and the curry gave way to adobo and sinigang and tinola, but the concept stayed the same. Small neighborhood kitchens selling affordable cooked food to people who need to eat on the move. Before 1764, there wasn't even a Filipino word for a place that cooked food commercially. The Carinderia was the first. And 260 years later, it's still the backbone of how millions of Filipinos eat every day. So here's what I think most foreigners miss when they look at Carinderias. They see something small. They see informal. They see plastic tables and handwritten sides. And they think this is a developing country problem waiting to be replaced by something modern. But that completely misses what's actually happening. The Carinderia isn't a failing system. It's a precision system. It's optimized for an economy where wages are earned daily, where families operate as economic units, where women need income that doesn't require leaving home, and where trust and relationships replace contracts and credit scores, and where a full meal has to cost what a daily wage earner can actually afford. It's the same logic as the sari-sari store, the same logic as the sachet economy, the same economic structure adapted to a different need. The sari-sari store handles goods, the Carinderia handles food. Both are built on daily cash flow. Both run on family labor and zero rent. Both serve the same customers. And both are dominated by women entrepreneurs. And both are invisible to anyone who's only looking at the formal economy. So before I end this, I need to say the Philippines is not a cheaper version of the West. I've said that in other videos, and it keeps being true the deeper I look at these topics. It's just a different economic structure with different logic. It has different systems and different strengths. Carinderia is one of the clearest examples. It solves a problem that no fast food chain and no restaurant brand has figured out how to solve at this scale. How do you feed a nation where millions of people earn daily and can only afford to spend 50 to 150 pesos on a meal? The answer isn't a franchise. The answer is a woman in her kitchen at 5 a.m. turning 1,000 pesos of wet market ingredients into plates of food that keep our neighborhood running for another day. So next time you walk past the Carinderia, have a look at it a little bit longer. What you're seeing isn't small. What you're seeing is a system that feeds the system, and it's been doing it for 260 years. If you found this interesting, I would appreciate you sharing in the comments below. And if you know someone that you think might find this video interesting, I would greatly appreciate you sharing with them. And if you haven't subscribed already, what are you waiting for? I would love your support. And as always, guys, thank you for taking the time to watch. Take care.